Alright, bro, you seen the title, you seen the thumbnail, you already know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
For the past couple of years on the internet, there always seems to be a new Earthbound-inspired RPG that probably talks about depression or some shit, I don't really know. It rolls around like the holiday, then it goes out of style, then we probably worry about something autistic like fucking Pomni and the Digital Circus or something. However, recently there's been a game that released on Steam that everybody's just apparently talking about now. The Coffin of Andy and Leyley has been taking the internet by storm, and I mean Twitter because that's the only thing I use. Despite its criticism because of the rather worrying events that take place in the game, we'll get to in a fucking sec. Recently, I posted on my Instagram. I said I was going to be playing the game, and that time's now. But today, I just wanted to post the highlights of my first playthrough of the and see if we can find what made the game so controversial, besides the obvious shit. As disturbing as the description for this game is and my overall introduction to it, the main thing that confused me before jumping into the game was the fact that this fucking game had an approval rating on Steam at 98%, which confused the hell out of me until I went to the review section and dear God. Okay, sure, they're both incestuous cannibals. However, they are both hot, and that makes it okay in my opinion.
what?
I can make her worse.
I'll ask my sister out if this
Hot
gets
sibling
fucking
sex, hot
biased.
sibling sex, hot sibling.
Now, it's worth noting that there were a lot of serious takes on the game, as there always would be. But for a lot of comments, it was literally just the incest bad. But so I know I've been stalling for the past 2 minutes, and you're probably like, what is the game actually about? Well, before we actually get into that, I want to put a content warning for everything that I put on screen right here. This game has some really fucked up mature themes, and if Twitter telling you that there was incest at the function, that didn't stop you from it, you belong here at this point. I'm used to playing games for and by degenerates, and nothing really prepared me for this, and by the 4th hour, I was fucking done. Okay, so I just got done doing one of the fucking endings for chapter 2 of this game. I'm in shambles. I'm literally in fucking shambles. What just happened? The world and just overall atmosphere of the game is just one of the most depressing things I've ever seen. Taking place in a world where there are no pure souls, and those who are just get hurt. With just about 4 hours of gameplay and fuck, more on the way. Fuck! The game does a lot with its time, and not so much more in the gameplay side, but definitely in the story. By far the most interesting yet controversial part of this game is its main title characters, Ashley and Andy. The two being trapped in their apartment room, supposedly being quarantined after being diagnosed with parasites that came from drinking water. Wait, that sounds familiar. I'll get it out the way now, but these two characters are insanely fucked up in the mind, but they're also written in a way where they truly belong with each other because no one else, even if they wanted to, could be around them. I really want to talk about everything that they've done right now, but we'll save it as the video goes on because I like runtime. Starting the game up, we see a flashback sequence from when the two title characters were kids, as Ashley tries to convince her brother Andy to after that flashback. Damn, bitch, this how you living? We start the game in Ashley and Andrew's apartment. New York be like, all this could be yours for 3,000. The first task of the game is just finding food for us to not fucking die. Pretty easy. Game sets the mood with pretty depressing dialogue from both the characters and narration.
Junk and unpaid bills. They can't be eaten. Detergent. Drinking this gets more and more tempting every day. Your parents definitely fucked on this bed.
Exploring the rest of the small apartment, we have the bathroom with a working toilet, Andrew and Ashley's room, and our parents' room. Digging in the trash, we find an old can of tomatoes, which then led me back to the room where Andrew is now awake. With the music completely gone, finally, that shit fucking hurt my ears. It was also kind of similar to listening to any of my videos pre-anime for degenerates. Dear God, don't fucking watch them. We show him the tomato can, which leads to dialogue and our first sign of family bonding. Going back to the kitchen, we hear character going by the name of the warden asks us if we're still alive. Ashley immediately getting nervous at the situation, freaking out just like Jesse did in that one episode of Breaking Bad.
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed! Bitch!
It was at this point in my playthrough where I kind of had theories of who it might be, like, Why are we trapped here? Where are our parents and shit? Those are the questions I started asking myself. The warden ends up being an asshole in this situation. Not that she doesn't fucking deserve it. After eating their depressing ass struggle meal like I did, they hear some loud ass, you can't even call this shit music, bro. I'm not calling it music. This fucking racket from the neighbor's house starts coming out, and our two main characters just start bickering about whether or not they should go investigate, with Andy acting like the smartest character in a horror movie and not splitting up.
You contemplate if you should take a leap of fate towards the neighbor's balcony. I mean, it's only the 4th floor.
Ashley, don't even think about it.
He's no fun.
Guess you'll have to find a way across.
Looking through their neighbor's window and... yeah, okay, I think their fucking neighbor just lost it. So apparently our neighbor just up and started doing demonic rituals out of fucking thin air. After this little moment, they kind of just disregard the shit like it never fucking happened, which honestly I think is one of the strangest things of all. Your fucking neighbor's trying to summon one of those gay demons from Hell of a Boss or some shit, but your sister's like, oh, maybe it's time to watch TV. Like, what the fuck? They watch TV, bad news, they have to fucking stay in quarantine again. Falling asleep again after dealing with our weird ass neighbor, we go into one of Ashley's dreams, or rather a memory of a conversation she had with her mom before she fucking dipped. In the dream though, Ashley and Andrew's mom pretty much explaining that they'll be able to join them soon, but just not right now, and because of the parasites in the water, they're gonna have to be tested and quarantined. The second part of the flashback is a little bit more important. It shows Ashley trying to contact her mother and assumedly asking for any type of help, as at this point Andrew and Ashley have been fucking cut off from the entire world, abandoned at this point by not only the workers but their own fucking mother.
No, fuck off. After reminiscing all night, you wake up, as one does. Instead of ruminating upon your misery, you decide to clean up the house a bit.
We actually clean up the entire living room in one of the most exciting set pieces in the entire game. No, we just fucking lay on the ground. We slip in and out of consciousness, but we wake up one time on Andrew's lap, and honestly, I thought this was gonna be one of the weird fucking scenes. I'm like, nah, man, that's 1 hour into the video, Batman. You will watch my 2-hour video essay about the incest game, Batman. Waking up again fully this time to Andrew having a conversation with someone on the phone that we can't really decipher who, but as the conversation goes on, they both start to seem upset. The voice on the other side mentions his relationship with his sister and how she was always front and center, and Andrew trying to put off any of the blame and basically saying, my bad you feel that way, Lamau Cole. As you'll most likely see later in the video, this is just kind of how Andrew is, and it's the behavior kind of exhibit. He isn't a person who's willing to face or have any type of confrontation in life at all, and this kind of exemplifies it for the first time in the game. After the call is done, Ashley wakes up as Andrew tells her that it was actually his now ex-girlfriend, and immediately starts to almost fucking celebrate this news, taunting Andrew about the situation and being more fucking cheeky than she usually is. We can tell that this is pretty much something that Ashley always wanted, but if later scenes in this video don't show that, or I don't know, the 15 incest memes I've put up in the past 10 minutes, I don't know, bro. Andrew walks off and Ashley doesn't get the response she was looking for. The next day we find Andrew on the balcony looking at an ambulance. Finally, we can have some fucking help in this bitch. Let's go! With other residents in the apartment building the same as us, crying for help. This is also the part where we get one of the most out-of-pocket fucking lines I've seen in this entire game. More time passes and the siblings decide to just wait on the floor and see what happens. And there's some interesting dialogue that shows their point of view of the situation, with Andy trying to be out of the situation fucking obviously, but Ashley being more content with where she was, besides the fact that she's actually starving to death. Conversation kind of switches off after the neighbor goes back to playing the same fucking racket, but this time it's different. The cultist actually summons the demon this time, but he gets killed because he calls the demon a manlet, and also he didn't have anything to sacrifice with. Ashley and Andrew look outside the balcony after the entire thing happens, and we decide to break in to at least turn off the fucking CD player. Never mind, we're fucking eating our neighbor. Ashley mentions out of nowhere while looking at the dead cultist that it might be a lot of meat, which makes Andrew bring up the question of, what if it's illegal? But doesn't specifically say what he wants, which prompts Ashley to say exactly what he meant, making him nervous, but at the end of it all, Ashley pressing Andrew to make a decision. Guess what we choose? Guess what we choose? Chop up the cultist and literally put his ass in the freezer and force himself to eat him, and going to bed without a little, not even a little tiny piece of remorse. Another flashback happens, which If you didn't realize, these kind of happen like every 10 minutes or so. But this one's lore important. This one's lore important. This time, it's a conversation between Andrew and Ashley, as it always is, with Ashley being upset over the fact that one of her friends now has a crush on Andrew, which is weird because that would be a weird ass relationship. I don't know, something about the age or some shit different. The purpose of this flashback is to pretty much show the rabbit hole of Ashley's obsession with her own brother and Andrew's blatant neutrality to everything in life. It's to really cement that they were always like this. In later scenes, we pretty much see how uninvolved Ashley and Andrew's parents are in their lives, which most likely affected how they are together. Codependent, and kind of like that one episode of, and I'm not trolling when I say this, Rick and Morty. Don't click off. Specifically the episode where Jerry and Beth get counseling on an alien planet and get hooked up to a machine that creates a visual representation of how they feel about each other, with Jerry being docile and submissive. That's how I like my men.
Because guess what? Here's what happens. Here's what happens, right?
And Beth being an absolute fucking monster, and the one who orchestrates and causes the most damage to her surroundings. The relation is furthered in the flashback where obsessive tendencies shine through for the first time, as the girl who had a crush on Andrew gets invited to a warehouse that Andrew and Ashley always play at, with the little girl's eyes being drawn out in a really, really creepy way. I don't know if I'm being really fucking weird, but there's something off about how this character is drawn right here, and it doesn't help with what happens next. Before going into the warehouse, the girl mentions that she lied to her parents about where she actually went, and told her that she would be going to a girl named Julia's house. Also, I'm gonna just say it outright. In this segment, it took me a little too fucking long to find this hammer. I don't know why it was so difficult. Actual smartest Andy and Leyley player. The kids get into the warehouse when Ashley again mentions her plans to lock the girl in a box until morning to scare her away from Andrew, under the guise of playing hide and seek. However, while looking for something to board up the box, Ashley's overbearingness comes out.
Well, what do you think? Is she pretty?
The stick?
No.
She's fine, I guess.
The two look off in different directions, not exactly knowing what to say to each other. However, after the girl finds them, Ashley and the girl look around for a hiding spot, as Andrew counts and the event that Ashley talks so much about finally happens. Ashley rushes her into the crate, gets on top, and waits for Andy to show up. Andy sees the situation and decides to back out of whatever deal he made with his sister, and sees how fucked up his sister really is. And while all this is happening, the girl inside the box struggles to even breathe. Meanwhile, Ashley goes into a breakdown and starts to tell Andrew about how everybody, including him, starts to dislike her. Gee, I wonder why, man. I really rock. In Ashley's mind, she wants to be the only girl that Andrew even thinks of and looks at in any type of capacity. And I think this is one of those moments in the game where I don't think it's just for cheap incest jokes, number 1097. I've made like 15 of those fucking jokes in the past. There was a Steam review earlier in this video that I kind of glanced over, and I think that they say it in a pretty apt way. This game tells a story, and the story is of a very toxic and codependent relationship that as time goes on only gets worse, and it's truly just a story about the decay of a familial bond. Her facade breaks as she gets what she truly wanted, Andrew's obedience. But Ashley still continues to cry until he shows action by locking the girl in the box for the rest of the night. In another later flashback, we learn her name and what happens to her, which is probably the most fucked up thing in this entire game. Fast forward to the next day as the two siblings try to come up with the idea to recreate what the cultist was trying to work on before he got killed. In the process of trying to recreate what the cultist was doing, Warden shows up to try and do his job for the first time ever. Check on the now frozen and eaten cultist, which by the way, I can't fucking say the word cultist. Before the take that you just heard, it took me like 8 tries to say that fucking word. We're then tasked with trying to find a hiding place, and the first thing I tried was going into the bathroom, which led me to actually pissing the game off and just straight up telling me no. Which reminded me of this scene from the Modern Warfare 2019 mission where you go and sneak into this terrorist house, and there was a baby in one of the rooms, and if you kept shooting or flashbanging him, the game would just straight up be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We hide in the closet, which for the first time in gaming history, someone actually checks for the first. Andrew kills a security guard, and it's one of his first kills. Sometimes where the character kills for the first time, it's usually impactful. It usually means something. But Andrew, just fucking blank-faced. Ashley has more of a reaction to it than Andrew does.
My tip creaming right now, my tip.
Which I'm not really trying to read into it, but I just think it's funny. They ponder on the kill a little bit and talk about it, but they find the keys on the guard and then decide to leave. However, before leaving, Andrew starts an argument.
Before we go, Ashley, I just want to make sure we're on the same page about something. Whatever excuse we had about eating that other guy just went out the window because of your screw-up.
Oh, I'm sorry? Did I ask you to kill him?
What do you think was going to happen if I hadn't?
Look, I'm not saying I'm not grateful. Andrew, I am. But what's your point?
The entire point of the argument is to break Ashley's perception of the world, make her realize that there's no going back to their old lives, and there's no going back to their parents, because at this point they essentially left them for dead in that apartment rotting away. Eventually he threatens her and tells her that,
If you're going to be so flippant about this, it isn't the authorities you need to worry about.
Are you threatening me?
I'm not going to jail because you think of yourself as impervious to consequences. So you're going to take this to the grave, even if I have to put you there myself. Don't give me a reason to.
it's the first time we actually see Andrew stand up for himself against Ashley, and he backs down. Come on, bro, what the fuck? You're not a real Nick 830. Never back down, never run. Ashley gets Andrew to back down after putting down any type of dominance he wanted to show. We as the player actually know that he had a point in what he was saying, and the behavior that Ashley exhibits, he couldn't finish through. But the main point was that Andrew didn't want to contact anybody from their former life, as they wouldn't help them at all, especially their parents who wanted them fucking dead, apparently. Going out the room, they find a key to a specific room downstairs and also documents detailing something about the selling and acquiring of organs. This, combined with the numbers and letters we see on the doors of every apartment, we can pretty much say that the residents in this building are being harvested for their organs, which is a crazy little fucking turn that I didn't expect on my first playthrough. Meaning that if Ashley and Andy didn't get out of the apartment, they probably would have been done for, and their organs would just be sold. Also in the security guard's room is another set of keys. Go out to the room, we find a woman that actually seems to be content with how she lives, as she doesn't have any bills, doesn't have a job, can't cook, was probably born after 1991. She's content with how she lives, and it's because she's been getting special treatment from both the wardens. But honestly, she may be a draw, but she kinda bad though. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm really hoping this video gets more than 50 views so we can see more fan art of this character. I don't even know the fucking character's name. I like and subscribe, bro. I never asked y'all to like and subscribe, but now I'm doing it. Please, we gotta see her doing back shots. We can just go with something random like Cassandra. Cassandra tells them to go fuck off, and they just go back to the room where they came from and come up with the idea to use the walkie-talkie they found on the other guard to come up and do the meanest back shots at work. They go back to the woman's room, but this time Andrew gets behind her. No, I'm not in the way. The plan works, and they get the lady to call the other security guard up to the 4th room, and the ritual then starts. But this time there's a soul that can be sacrificed, and the security guard ends up being that very individual. The demon then gives Ashley whatever was in his pocket at that time, and this time it was a talisman that allows Ashley to have an occasional clairvoyant dream, which basically means she can see in the future whenever she goes to sleep. Which means more flashbacks, yeah! More AI voices, let's go! Also, during this conversation, he specifically calls her soul tar-colored, and while there might be a spectrum of different souls, Undertale reference here, so far in the game there only seems to be about 2 different types of souls. Demon then just suddenly leaves, and Ashley notes how fast it was, because he did just kind of pack shit up. She notes that the demon just gives her whatever was laying loose in his pockets, rather than the fact that her soul is actually a viscous tar pit. It's almost like she already knew this. We get the key to the 2nd floor and the gun off the warden and head back downstairs to see the lady dead after Andrew was forced to stab her apparently 18 times, because that's a lot of fucking blood. Andrew tells us that she tried to shoot him with the nail gun after he let her go, after remembering Andrew supposedly saying that she wasn't pretty enough to get any food. But it wasn't even what Andrew was saying, not even close. and her mind starts to overthink. And while maybe he could have gotten tired from staying in that position for so long, or maybe he was going to have sex with the girl. This line of thinking causes an argument between the two, with Ashley trying to make the point that every girl that comes into his life that isn't her that makes him lose sight of everything else in the world, also known as just her. And we find out that Ashley actually sent death threats to his ex-girlfriend, as she thought that she didn't actually truly deserve Andrew in the first place. She blatantly sabotaged his entire relationship, all out of some weird petty jealousy. Their entire relationship comes down to a boiling point, arguing in the room of the girl that Andrew just killed. And it's all because she wants to be Andrew's sole priority, and brings up the point that she always felt abandoned, and questions why they aren't close anymore. But Andrew makes the smart point that she's always there, and there was never a point where she was abandoned by him, and that entire point was just her pulling out her manipulate and gaslight card. While the entire scene has its edgy parts in the entire fucking game for that matter, the dialogue is weirdly realistic in how people argue and bring out the worst in each other. Ashley struggles to keep Andrew in her grasp, and when he attempts to leave, Andrew brings up the point that throughout most of their lives and all the murders so far have been done because he was compelled by her to do it. The warden, the lady on the bed, and finally the girl in the warehouse. This is exactly how she's had an entirely clean conscience, blaming Andrew for all of the deaths actually her fucking fault, or she had something to do with it. She gets Andrew to stay, and the only way that she does is by reveling in the fact that she has a hold on him, and she's ecstatic about that. She has him in a box, and she can do whatever she wants with him. Holy shit, I just made a Fortnite reference. They danced around talking about their first victim, but it all spells out on my favorite scene in this entire game, as Ashley taunts around Andrew, and we see her true nature actually come out. In her eyes, he completely chose to do it on his own volition, and he chose to lock that box. He chose to do all of this. However, all of this blows up in Ashley's face as Andrew fights back.
So I guess we're not leaving here together then.
You won't? You can't, 'cause I'm the only one you can talk to when you can't sleep at night, when you can't take it. I'm the only one who can make it go away.
Fancy that. When you're the reason I can't fall asleep in the first place.
I would like to go now, with Andy.
Go like Nina did?
Of course not. I'd like to get out of this apartment before we get...
I'd like to go too, but the thing is, you're pissing me off so much right now. We go now, and you'll just throw another fit later.
In this moment, Andrew is fully considering letting go and killing his own sister, and Ashley still tries to prove that nothing can be done without her, all just to save her own skin at the end of the day. Andrew just diffuses all her points, everything that she says that she can offer, everything that she could supposedly do for him can be counteracted or solved all by himself. He really truly doesn't need her. And it all seems like he's about to get ready to do it, until he doesn't. He lets go, and the cycle continues. Unironically, it's one of my favorite scenes in the entire game. This video was framed to be an entirely neutral review on the game. I wouldn't say that I hate it, I wouldn't say that it's good. And made me feel like it wasn't just incest jokes and fucking cannibalism like the game said it would be in the description.
You're finishing up what's left of your lunch. The consequences of your actions have yet to catch up with you, which is nice.
Released in October of this year, the second episode of the game picks up about a week after the siblings make up and escape their apartment building and are now just looking for a plan to survive, not exactly knowing what to do or who to contact, if anybody, for help. And the only thing that they have is just a couple of $100 that we stole from the cultists in the first episode. This part is unrelated, and I know I shouldn't be complimenting this game, but the music in this part go hard.
Kill our parents! Do it for your cute little sister! I know you want.
Cut the shit the fuck off!
Also in this area, I found the friendliest retail worker in the entire world. and more moments of the narrator just fucking with us if we just go the wrong way. Going to the four walls of the motel, it's basically just a repeat of our old apartment. There's a bit of world building with the newspapers scattered around the floor that Andrew's been collecting, with there being more chemical leaks into the water far off in a town that we've never been to. Then there's more dialogue about stupid shit like Ashley being in the way and something about her fat awesome tits, which is not something I thought I would be saying for this fucking video, but I guess I am. Not trying to be a goon or anything, but
there's nothing.
watching TV, the two siblings are just fucked up in the crib watching a TV simply called Brand. Then there's a commercial that promotes a drink literally called Toxi Soda, and the person who made the ad genuinely fucking hates their product. There's nothing ever positive on the TV, and it isn't supposed to be. It was written that way. The little motherfucker doesn't even know why he's drinking, he's just consuming. While that's happening on the TV, Ashley and Andrew sit on the couch, and Ashley proceeds to poke the pissed off pit bull named Sprinkles that is her brother, by reinforcing her opinion that no one is looking for them, and he's just a paranoid freak. Which basically means that she's literally doing the same thing Eric Andre did to that one girl on his show.
Me and my friends used to feed LSD to this little retarded girl in our neighborhood. Yeah. And we'd lock arms around her and go, nightmare, 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 nightmare.
Clear that this is the underlying decay of the relationship. And beneath all the funny jokes and shit, she's still the same person. Even being as petty as to go back and mention the choking scene from the last episode, which actually was something that they both wanted to never bring up again. She still has plans in mind for her brother.
Yeah, you think I'm so awful, huh? Do you want to see what it's actually like when I misbehave? I could be so much worse. Should I show you just how awful I am?
All of this is broken up after they learn the fact that their entire apartment building has been engulfed in flames and is pretty much fucking gone. While mentioning that the entire thing just burned down and there were no survivors, the representative of the water company also takes the time to plug one of his new flavors of sewer juice, or whatever the fuck it's called, like it's fucking Logan Paul, but no one really cares about this shit.
I've made a severe...
We go to sleep and Ashley has her first premonition about someone coming to the room and cutting both of their throats as they sleep. Now, when I first saw the scene, I thought, good/based ending, let's go! I don't even know what the fuck I did, but they need to die. But seriously, in this moment, I thought I had fucked up. Like, what did I do wrong? Did something happen? No. We actually wake up as Ashley holding our throat and telling Andrew what we saw. Going back to where we started, for safety, we actually stay so long that we're able to smoke 4 fucking cigarettes. And it seems at this point that there's no one coming and there's no one actually looking for them. Her clairvoyance is just a fucking myth, a goof, a laugh even. But after that, they suddenly hear someone walking past them in a hood that oddly resembles the cultists we were just feasting on like 20 minutes ago earlier in this video. Ashley takes the time to be as loud and obnoxious about the situation as possible, and even questions where he was probably going. The two siblings' curiosity actually gets so out of hand that Andrew decides to follow them, while Ashley will stay where she is.
Where do you suppose he was off to?
Why, a sex and drugs party with demons, duh. Why are you asking me?
Whatever. Should we follow him?
But I'm trying to see if my vision comes true or not.
It's not like we both have to be here.
Oh shit, we can actually play as Andrew now. Out of nowhere, for the first time in the game, we take control of Andrew and go down the same path that the cultists went down. There's nothing different in the gameplay except now we're just playing as a fucking twink with an obsessive sister. Following the cultist guy, we see him go down an elevator. We take the chance to try and follow him, but there's a code that we need to unlock the elevator that he just went down. Now at first I was dreading this part because I hate when you have to find a code for the thingamajig that will open to the next fucking level. However, then my dumb brain realized that all we had to do was look to the left because this fucking game is stupid, bro. Going down the elevator, 2 cultists actually ask us, rightfully so by the way, what the fuck are you doing here? And for like the second time in the game, we actually get to make a decision on what we choose to do. And me being the absolute Chad that I am, and the guy that could just stand up for himself and stand on business, I asked him the question that everybody who's watching this video wants to know, and then proceed to get the hardest.
What the hell are you talking about?
You decide if a way forward doesn't strike you before you're done with your smoke, you'll just call it quits. Fucking quitter. And then, just as you're putting your smoke out, there's a key right under the cigarette butt jar.
Oh, well shit, that was Magdalena. Up the stairs is a kitchen area that the cultists use to store cake and coffee in, which is wild as fuck. Strange to see these devil worshippers have a somewhat normal anything at this point. What the fuck? Andrew stumbles upon where the cultists that he ate like 20 minutes ago actually came from. And the main goal is to essentially try to contact the same demon we already contacted and sacrificed for. They've done everything except for the main thing that people really associate with cults. Actually fucking sacrifice. Not much happens until the cult leader actually sees Andrew hiding in the corner, and thanks to Andrew's 2 brain cells working at full capacity that day, he's just able to play it off, but barely.
Now that you've got your answers, you miss Ashley. Punk ass nigga.
Taking it back to Ashley, we tell her everything that just happened, along with the strangely entertaining sibling dialogue with it. But at this point in my playthrough, there was something that I actually found out after a few more playthroughs. If you meet up with Ashley and take her with you to back where you came from, you could actually get a secret achievement. So instead of going back to the motel and investigating this black car that just pulled up, we go back. At this point, all the cultists basically went back home, and we sneak into the kitchen just as we did earlier. But this time, we can have a new line of dialogue and find out that Andrew canonically got prankum John'd at a summer camp.
Oh, look who fell asleep first. Prank him, John. You already know.
Need a key card to get any further, but in almost godlike timing, one of the cultists actually come up. The 2 straight up think about robbing him for shit, but Andrew decides to use his brain cells to actually lead all 3 of them downstairs, and no one has to get hurt. Getting back down to where we were just at, Ashley probes the cult member into telling them about how their rituals work, and eventually tell the cult member they know exactly what would summon the demon, because they clearly can't get shit done. In that moment, by using the cult member's blood and turning on the music, another demon is summoned, but it's not the usual one that we are so used to. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is the same demon that we've come in contact with, but don't tell them that. They all kind of look the fucking same. In the process of trying to sacrifice the dumbass cultist, our request gets ignored as there's a language barrier between the entity and Ashley.
Okay, what the fuck is he saying?
Failing to establish the means to communicate, the entity grows bored. Lord Unknown's presence begins to fade.
Wait, don't go! I've got a favor to ask. Look, you can take that guy's soul.
The room immediately goes back to normal as the towering demon fades out back to wherever he was. The cultist rightfully freaks out after almost being sacrificed and even tries to stand on business like Drewski, but decides against it because Andrew lets out his no more Mr. Nice Guy act like he fucking Drake or some shit.
You're both horrible. No wonder Lord Unknown just up and left.
Because demons, as we all know, hate horribleness.
What is this guy, an idiot?
Did you just figure that shit out?
Hey, who's an idiot?
Ask the idiot.
Before we leave, there's a little bit of dialogue that I want to talk about, where Ashley reinforces the point that Andrew has no one or anything else to focus on besides her, which is just at this point piling on for that shitstorm that is her fucking conscience. Continuing on with the story, they hear a car pull up, and out steps the guy that Ashley saw in her dream that slit their fucking throats. Casually just walks into their room, and they understand the fact that he's probably just waiting for them to come back. And switching control back to Ashley and heading to our door, they play dumb as if they know no one is here, and we get to see some really good acting. Now, because I'm an asshole, my first instinct was to immediately go to the closet and then...
Well, congratulations! You found the hitman! And died. Which is the best part. For the record, Andrew doesn't fare much better when it comes to cutting people up. The hitman whoops his amateur ass dead. Coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb ass fight. Though given his romantic streak, he probably didn't want to live without you anyway. I bet you'd be happy about that if you weren't too fucking dead to feel anything.
Jesus.
Now, it may not be the worst ending, depending on who you talk to about this game, but get laundry that Ashley was complaining about not forgetting, get out as soon as we can, and go to the park, which was actually locked off earlier. It's the second time we play hide and seek in this game, which I think is pretty odd, but true fact. This time we're hiding from a murderer. There's a very important scene in this part where Ashley basically shoves the gun into Andrew's hand, which coincides with her instances of putting responsibility and cruel actions on her brother.
You can't ambush a killer waiting to ambush you. And you can't very well start looking for him either, without letting him know that you know he's here.
Bet this looks suspicious as hell.
This doesn't look like shit. He shouldn't be able to see.
An idea hits you then?
Oh, what the fuck? Ashley straight up dips off like her mom did and hides in a bush with no real context, leaving Andrew, aka ourselves, to decipher where she went. Straight up playing hide and go seek with a serial killer and your incestuous sister. On my first playthrough, there was a sense of dread knowing that if I choose the wrong bush, I'm finished. I also kind of did this to myself because I kept searching on the bushes that I knew it wouldn't be. After some looking, I found her, but going to this bush with a shopping cart right next to it, we see the hitman and get the prompt to either shoot or shoot! Put the worst hitman in the world down, and Ashley tells us how good we did, like someone with a praise kink, but she couldn't have done it at a worse time. We ask Ashley why she ran out of the blue, but as she explains it, she did it to get him a reason to look in the bushes. Looting his body, we find car keys and immediately head to his car to get out of the area and flee once again. But before we do that, of course, there's more lore. Yeah! In the backseat of his car, there are newspaper cutouts of various incidents, but most importantly to the plot and to us, one about our old apartment and a chemical leak in another city. With the amount of leaking in these cities, you would have thought they were women when they watch my YouTube videos. I fucking killed that one! However, in the front seat, there's an envelope that talks about a man named Mr. Washing Machine, which is codename for the hitman if you didn't fucking realize that. These papers are essentially receipts from whatever company hired him. The company had so much confidence in his ability to get the shit done that no progress reports and straight up wasn't needed. There's also another thing that hints at who was trying to do the hit, and it's the fact that there are samples of new toxic soda, which at this point we already know who tried to hit us. It's the same water company that actually locked us in that apartment for so long and basically just fucking forgot about us, like straight up. Oh fuck, I forgot we gotta go back to the sibling story. Going back to our dumbass siblings, we end up trying to figure out where to go next, and the two have no idea what they should do, considering that they kind of broke out of confinement in their apartments. Andrew doesn't exactly know what to do, while Ashley has the idea to go to their parents' house. If you know anything about Andrew, bro don't want shit to do with his parents. He shuts that shit down immediately, but Ashley tries to use the point that all they'll do is rob them blind, then leave. But a more darker side to her plan actually leaks as she reveals that she just wants to kill her parents and rob them. Something that was kind of fucking unexpected, but when we were dealing with Ashley, that shit kind of happens. But after another bullshit argument that starts after Andrew tries to stand up to her again and realizes the bullshit his sister plays, Ashley goes to sleep, waking up in a different dimension. Not quite hell, but more like a midpoint between Earth and hell, with the same type of eye symbols, trees with fallen petals all over the ground, and a dark void that we can fall down to. Going through this level was a fucking nightmare. It's one of those things where you have to find your way, and you have to experiment and shit. It's just a damn nightmare. The entity reveals to us that he called us here, and while we try to explain to him why we can't be here for long, he blocks it out. He approaches Ashley with a deal. She collects souls for him, and in return he'll recharge her talisman and allow her to see in the future more often. And with some hesitation, Ashley accepts. She leaves Ashley by herself once again, and getting another pathway unblocked, we come up to two doors. One with the same flowers that have been all over this stage, and the other with eyes, similar to the one that we see on the entity. Not much happens when you go through the right door, I'm gonna be so real, except for the entity kicking you out and telling us that going to one of his realms could instantly kill us.
This is great. Good night, Squidward. Good night, Eggland, nigga. Get out my crib, broke fucking Eggland.
Choosing the left door actually gets us into another segment of finding flowers, which is honestly pissing me off. The first thing I noticed was this big ass obnoxious box sitting at the top of my screen. In the box though, there's some type of birthday cake? Cupcake? EDP? Cupcake kind of puts Ashley in some type of trance, which makes her remember a moment in her childhood.
You get lost in your thoughts for a bit.
The scene starts off with it being Ashley's birthday, and it seems to be around the same age of when they actually murdered their classmate. Ashley stares off blankly at a birthday card she got from school and feels as if there's a discrepancy between how she's being treated compared to Andrew by her parents and just at school. It's a pretty potent flashback that shows the lack of care that her parents have and shows why Ashley leans on Andrew as much as she does, since Andrew was essentially raising her. And as other flashbacks in this video will show, the people around her just might not not like her at all. That was kind of serious. Hey, I want to animate titties. Look. For her birthday, they just sit around watching the same movie that she always likes to watch, and the dialogue just sounds like the average Hell of a Boss episode. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Look at Andrew, bro does not want to be here. Throughout the entire flashback, Andrew tries to make light of the situation and tries to convince his sister that at least he cares. It's a natural thing for a sibling to do. When they're feeling down, you try and comfort them and make them laugh. But in this case, it's just feeling her fucking tendencies to just do backflips and kill like potential people that could be in her brother's life. But overall, it just fueled her tendencies to lean on Andrew because there was truly no one else. And it's the same behavior that she exhibits as a grown-ass woman to this day. After getting to the door we were supposed to go to in the first place, Ashley gets stuck in a confined part of the puzzle with no paths or exits in sight. You can collect flowers, but after a few seconds of staying there, the screen starts flashing black and red. Andrew tells us that we finally made it to our parents' neighborhood, but seeing that Ashley is unreasonably mad as she always is at Andrew, the atmosphere changes in the car from being worried about if Ashley would wake up or not to Andrew trying to be the dominant twink e-boy. Realizing, or rather feeling, that he was too harsh on Ashley, we see him reel it back, the moment that his words actually have an effect on her. But after some indulgement in her actions and her behaviors, they eventually go back to normal and just go rob their fucking parents. Getting out the car, there's not really much to go off of in the parking lot, but going deeper into the neighborhood, the siblings talk about trying to find which house is theirs, and we actually find out Ashley and Andrew's last name, Graves. In our parents' backyard is just another puzzle segment, and honestly, this shit took me too fucking long to get past. I don't know why it did, it just did. To get past this part, you essentially have to go to this broken off piece of the gate, get a stick from the garden, and unhook the window. What makes my little fuck up on this segment even worse is the fact that the game has a little indicator telling you what you can and can't pick up. So I blatantly walked past this and even got fucking debated. While we could have just held Ashley up to the window, Ashley just makes the reasoning on to why you couldn't just to be another incest joke. Now that I write this, just bothers the fuck out of me. As the game goes on, the more incestuous tones of the writing get stronger and stronger, to the point where it sounds like shit I would say to my crush in like 6th grade. If y'all saw the text I was sending on Kick, y'all would unsubscribe. Ashley finds her way into the house, and we can take our time to explore the house, with the bathroom looking reminiscent of our apartment. The house is average, and you can even see that their parents have a better quality of life than either of them had in the past couple of months. They've restarted their lives and forgot about their children for reasons that will become clear later on in this video. Finding a letter in the living room, we see someone, most likely a neighbor, writing to Ashley and Andy's parents and giving their condolences after the apparent death of their kids. Look at us now! The crazy part about the letter is the person writing the letter writes that it was probably for the best, and none of it is their fault, despite the fact that their mom just straight up dipped and left her kids to get their organs ripped out or some shit. This situation even a little bit worse, the neighbor even asked for Andy's old college books. Considering the technology that we see in the game,
who the fuck is this nigga?
The game seems to take place somewhere in the 90s or early 2000s. Also, while doing some random research for the game after I did all of this, I found out that the game actually takes place somewhere in Northern Europe. There's also other things, considering the fact that the main developer for the game, leyley, actually drew art of Ashley and Andrew celebrating Midsummer. A celebration that's usually celebrated by people in this general area. They always come up with some crazy shit, honestly. We gotta watch out for these people. Our parents' room is clean, or rather deceptively clean, as if you look into the closet, there's toys and rope, which don't need much explanation.
Freak-ass parents.
This and a few other reasons that might be coming up later in the video could be one of the reasons on why their parents wanted to move out so fast. To fucking private. Truly, every parent's dream. As much as I make a joke out of it, as the chapter goes on, there's more evidence for the theory than not. For example, going into the basement, I saw a bed that didn't really seem like it belonged, but interacting with it makes the narrator say,
"Your parents have lived here for only a few months, yet they've been able to hoard all this stuff, and a spare bed to boot. Money is clearly no longer an issue, and the extra bed implies there are no issues in their social life either." Do you guys think Mrs. Graves makes Mr. Graves watch?
We find a key to the dresser in their parents' room that was previously locked. It might hold what we were here for in the first place. Steal jewelry and get any type of there's nothing in the dresser. But what is there is another letter addressed to their parents that tells us that the compensation that they opted into would be distributed, and all they would have to do is just set up a time to speak with the representative. However, while reading that, they also saw their own death certificates. This letter essentially confirms a lot of the theories we've had so far. Parents were paid to leave them in the apartment to rot under the guise of there being a chemical leak in the water or parasites or whatever the fuck it was. I'm losing track, and so it basically confirms that our parents ate shit, just left us for a whole bunch of money, which kind of makes them irredeemable. And while shortly after seeing some life-changing papers, the siblings hear someone enter the house, and both of them have a brief moment of freaking out until Andrew jumps at the opportunity to just come out and say that they're there. Turns out to be their mom, which they haven't seen or heard from in months. We can also see the true shock and horror on her face after the kids she tried so hard to get rid of fucking come back from the dead in the house that they were never supposed to step foot in. Honestly, as much as I think the girl from the apartment was bad as fuck, the mom low-key better, bro. Miss Graves got, and she actually has fan art. One thing I will give this game though is how pretty the art for the characters is, and it's definitely thanks to the expressions the characters make. In some cases like this one, you could really say like, damn, these motherfuckers actually hate each other.
Beat your ass. Cause clearly the last ass whooping you got wasn't good enough, bitch. Get the fuck off my
It's definitely one of my favorite aspects of the game. Going back to the story and not the art style, Andrew comes up with the lie that they were able to go after being evacuated from the burning apartment. But their mom's facial expression shows that she know that they on bullshit. It's more to their story, and she knows that they were supposed to die in that apartment. Also, what's funny about this scene is that the music for this part is a track that's repeated pretty often with the game, but it's weirdly upbeat and the type of shit that you would hear in like a slice of life anime when the characters are doing or saying some stupid shit. Characters in this game will have the most gut-wrenching conversations with each other that mentally break them down until they're nothing, but the background music be like As the conversation starts to dwindle down, our mom mentions that their father should be coming through, and as soon as she says this, Andrew volunteers to cook. Playing out from Andrew's perspective, we get to the section of gathering different shit. Oh yeah, Ashley's been real quiet during all this, hasn't it? For the most part, their relationship has been pretty rocky, as always, with Andrew becoming progressively more tired of the shit Ashley pulls, while also noticing the fact that his words have a deep effect on her, more than anything else. He has a somewhat unconditional love for his sister, but the fact that she keeps doing more and more crazier shit to pull him back in ruins it all. But after that argument they had in the car, it seems as if Ashley's been giving Andrew the silent treatment, and he's noticing it.
You're stuck with an odd urge to pull this broody bitch into your arms and force her to stay until she smiles. I regret being the narrator.
And he also slowly starts to pick up on the fact that she's trying to tell him something. And after she finally opens up in the kitchen, after believing that Andrew would at some point come to the conclusion by himself, she reveals her plan to kill her parents. Which honestly at this point, it's like, that's just normal Ashley behavior at this point. Like, fuck. We know why she might want to do it. I mean, she did get left in an apartment with her favorite person in the world for about 3 months. But it's also to charge up the talisman that was given to her by the entity earlier in the game. But just like in an anime, our parents walk in at just the right time to catch us before we have the biggest argument that we've seen so far. We see our dad for the first time, and bro straight up does not care about his kids.
One extremely tiresome dinner later.
Sometime later, after dinner is over, while cleaning up the kitchen, the topic of what the siblings should do next comes up again, and whether or not they should keep their parents alive. Ashley eventually starts to question Andrew's loyalty to her, and feels as if every time there's a challenge, he doesn't do what he needs to do. However, in the act of trying to prove his loyalty, he says a line that's impactful to me at least, and it's kind of the motto of this entire game.
I chose you.
But the consequences of killing his parents loom over him so badly that he can't exactly get over that. There is no happy ending with Ashley if they get caught trying to kill their parents or actually doing it.
If you don't like it, why don't you stay here with Mommy and Daddy and be a good little murder boy? Why don't you leave me to rot? Clearly you don't even like me.
You're the one who doesn't like me. It's all about Andy with you. Well, guess what? Andy is dead.
You're right. I really don't like Andrew.
The illustrations of the game really come in clutch, showing us how crazy the argument got. And the argument at this point is over a myriad of different things, and honestly, it was hard keeping up with this shit. First they're talking about why Andrew doesn't want to be called Andy, then they're talking about fucking chopping up their parents, then they're talking about why Andrew looked in the general direction of a female like 5 years ago. Like, fuck! The argument ends as both lock back in to figure out how to get what they need and get out. However, this doesn't mean that Ashley's motive to kill her parents has...
Andrew, I don't believe that woman could keep her mouth shut without her being dead.
As the two siblings talk about the shit and lock back in, their mom literally fucking appears out of nowhere. After barely managing to clutch it out after getting caught doing whatever the fuck she thought they were doing, she just comes out and says it.
I don't suppose you've gotten any friends you could go stay with. There isn't enough space in this house.
Despite it being far larger than the last one. Lying bitch.
In a literal sense, there's more than enough space to hold the kids, but it's clear that their mom wants them to just leave and that they're not unwelcome to visit. However, they can't be here forever.
But since you're already here, I guess one night won't be a problem. But you need to start looking for somewhere else to stay, first thing in the morning. And it should probably be in 2 separate places.
Mrs. Graves is probably my favorite character in the game because by no qualification is she a saint. She fucking left her own children for dead and was essentially absent when she was quote-unquote raising them. But she's a presence that completely opposes Ashley and Andrew's entire existence. Fuck, bro, that was my first try. No one in this game is a true saint except for maybe 2 characters that we barely see. But with the short time we see Mrs. Graves, I just fell in love. Like, but meepmop, she almost killed her kids and abandoned them. She tells the two to just go in their different spots to go to sleep, and that's the end of it. And while trying to fall asleep is Andrew.
Going to sleep is the worst. During the day, all the noise and Ashley's never-ending bullshit keeps your mind occupied. But at night, alone with your thoughts, there is nothing that can distract you from yourself. Despite having every intention to pick a fight with Ashley, you drift off to sleep.
The real thought of being by yourself with those thoughts in the back of your head and nothing to really distract you, not even no Family Guy funny moments and Subway Surfers gameplay, it's a real fear for most people. Waking up in some type of space, just like we've been doing with Ashley this entire game, there's a fridge in the front of us and the freezer from our old apartment to our right. Opening the freezer to our old neighbor with his body parts floating in the air inside pans? Pots? Well, I'm pretty certain the choice of whatever limb you choose to cook in the beginning of the game matters, as it's the one that won't show up in the dream. Also, his head is floating in something that's usually in the house. Kind of reminds me of something.
Master, I'm tired of picking cotton. Please give me another.
He has a conversation with us and he mostly tells us that it's time to compartmentalize. And with the events that happen later in this dream, it makes total sense on why he used this word specifically. After going on a little bit of a scavenger hunt for his limbs, we get teleported to the next puzzle of the level. The entire room is just shrouded by the same darkness that's been in this entire little segment, or for the most part this entire game. Everything's edgy as hell. The first thing that you've probably noticed in the room is the fact that the sprite for kid Ashley, or Leyley, is sitting in the top right corner. Instinctually we walk up to her and Andrew straight up just does not fuck with this version of her. Later we'll see why though. Hang on, I'm gonna go get a beer. I feel like I just needed this because this game is hard to get through. Yep, still tastes like piss. She ends up having to follow us after we learn that she's the only one that really has candles to get through this part. To the left is a candle holder, and while in the process of trying to get candles from Leyley, she starts playing around and won't give us the candle. But thankfully, the game gives us an option. Going over to the middle room's candle stand, lighting up the candle shows us a room that looks like it was made just for Ashley. But actually getting there, going to the room and lighting the candle, there's another room below us with a girl that Andrew seems to know very well, but we don't just yet. I don't know why, but the first thing I thought of when I seen this character on the right was just, fuck, what was it called? Gotcha Life. There, yeah, that game's shit. I really wish it didn't remind me of that. The room seems to belong to Andrew's ex-girlfriend Julia, who we've talked to earlier. Oh yeah, there's some crayons in here too. Now, if you've been paying attention throughout this entire video, you probably remember me telling you to remember this name specifically in one of the first flashbacks of the warehouse scene. Well, I hope we weren't just playing this as background noise like it's a Wendigoon video, because shit's getting important. Other parts of her room include a trash can mostly filled with death threats. I didn't get footage of this one on my playthroughs, but if you interact with the phone, you can also hear voicemails from, We all know who at this point, but interacting with Julia gives us another flashback. This time it's a more recent memory, possibly going back a little before quarantine, when Julia and Andrew were actually dating. They're having a conversation, and Andrew noticed that there's clearly something wrong with how she's acting, and there's something bothering her, but the issue arises because she doesn't know how Andrew might take the news. In the nicest way possible, Julia wants to express her feelings of wanting Ashley to not dominate his life. His relationship with his sister is actually eating away at other relationships he has. The way I initially interpreted this scene was that Andrew has a sense of neutrality to him when he talks about Ashley in this scene. He's not really apologetic in the sense that he actually means it. He's more so just saying it just to say it, it feels. He has just a blind side for Ashley, and it's apparent in this. It's clear that Julia doesn't exactly know how to communicate this shit, but it's something that she had to get off her chest. She wants to make something work, but Andrew, bro. Ashley got that grip, you know what I'm saying? The scene overall is like an anime fan trying to explain why some shit like Arrow Manga Sensei is peak and isn't just COD point bait, while the other person who likes anime but wishes they could watch something normal like Naruto or Better Call Saul or literally fucking anything besides COD points tries to reason with them. Bro has gotten so used to his sister's antics, it's just become normal at this point. But at the end of it all, he's able to somehow reassure Julia, even though he knows he's on complete bullshit. He even goes as far as to ask Julia to tie up her hair, which is most likely a reference to Ash. Bro, just creepy for that one.
You will never see her again. And the fact that it doesn't really bother you, bothers you. Out here fumbling the baddest bitches I see.
Continuing on with the puzzle, we give Leyley the crayons that she was asking for before, and in return she gives us the candles which light the next and final part of this section, which I like to call the modern day incidents, as it features Andrew's most impactful moments from the game so far. His main victims laying on the pentagram and with Ashley hiding in the closet like she did in the first episode. Talk to modern day Ashley for a second, but seeing that she wants to be called a specific name for some reason and doesn't seem to want to budge on that, she stays in the closet while we go back to where we started after a long trip of compartmentalizing all of our different memories. This segment is actually one of the most important for Andrew, as it just shows how he uses compartmentalization. Yes, it took me fucking 10 tries to say this. We find our neighbor back where we started, and it seems like we successfully compartmentalized all of our thoughts, and now all that remains is just one. The one that Andrew really didn't want to go back to. My heart genuinely dropped as soon as I seen the box, realizing that we're going back to that moment and see the fate that we subjected Nina to. I was scared to go anywhere near that box, just like Andrew, but eventually building up the courage to, and because the storyline requires us to. Going back to when Andrew and Ashley were kids again in the warehouse after leaving Nina in the box was actually terrifying, and it was just a matter of time before we actually find out what happened to her. We all know what happens, it's just getting to that point is horrible. It's like edging to the scariest thing that you could think of. Tension of knowing what happens next, but not wanting to face it. It's exactly what I was experiencing, and Andrew probably was as well. The rest of the scene speaks for itself. It's the first moment when both characters just truly went too far. And when I knew the game was on a different level of fucked up. It wasn't the incest, it was none of that shit. It was this. This was never supposed to happen, and Andrew truly wasn't ready for it. But Ashley, just seeing Nina as competition, has no feelings about the situation, and is more happy than she's ever been.
If you're so weak that you die just like that, then clearly nature doesn't want you to live.
Nigga, 5-year-olds don't say that! Any review saying that Ashley can be fixed or she's hot can immediately get thrown out because you literally can't. Even while in pure shock, Andrew tells Ashley that they can't leave her here like Ashley might want, as her body would eventually start to rot. The situation gets to Andrew, all while the reality of it doesn't get to Ashley. Eventually finding something to wrap the body in, and not before taking a second look.
Instant regret.
They build a grave far out in the forest somewhere, and Andrew immediately tries to confirm that Ashley won't tell anyone about the situation, and in my opinion, mirroring one of their first arguments in the game after killing the security guard. And after some quote-unquote reassurance of the situation, Andrew sits down as Ashley tries to comfort her. Never mind, this bitch is crazy. Ensuring for the first time that he could never leave her and stay right where he needs to be. Her eyes glow knowing that he has no other options, and his eyes darken knowing that there's no escape.
You had a million things you wanted to say to this creature, none of which were pleasant, but absolutely nothing came out.
A dubious little creature getting up to mischief. This is no good.
Sometime later in the flashback, Andrew's still hung up over the death of Nina, and nothing seems to distract him. He's now a husk, seeming to only care about if the police were involved. And just like a girlfriend, she gets mad at Andrew for dwelling on the fact that they just killed someone not too long ago. And now we see why Andrew's the way that he is in the modern time.
It is never good enough.
For more lore-related things outside of their relationship, we can go into the living room and find that the TV is talking about a surgeon who just started up a new company and is just now partnering up with the different water companies to eventually do something. I'm sure we'll find out more about the surgeon character, but I've been trying not to bring him up, mostly because we know so little about him. On the balcony, we can have a short conversation with Andrew's dad, seeming to just exist, and he's just tired. Me and Andrew have the same line of thinking of, is he going to actually do a backflip off this bitch? But surprisingly no, and it's just to show how non-present he is. But the most important thing in the house is that we finally see what Nina looks like without the blur. A final effort to show truly what you've done. And finally in the room, Andrew lets loose and tells Ashley how he truly feels, and now knows the shit his sister pulls. While at first being completely unfazed, Ashley feels the effects of it, and suddenly Andrew cuts their finger to make a blood pact. They promise each other different things, and for Andrew, he wants Ashley to never speak on the events that took place in the warehouse, and Ashley wants Andrew to never be distracted by no other person, or fucking hussies as she puts it. I'm not saying that. There's a YouTuber named Dandy that I really look up to when it comes down to making these Coffin of Andy and Leyley videos, because the way that he puts it, I completely agree with his analysis of the scene. Blood Oath is an okay scene, but it kind of lessens the impact of certain scenes, like the choking scene, because it isn't the first time Andrew bucks up to his sister. Also, you should subscribe to him, not only because his analysis of the games is great, but also he's one of the few Australians I can actually fucking understand, so that's pretty cool. And while Andy is talking to her, Ashley says something not out of character, but kinda shocking. We finally wake up as Andrew in the present time, as Ashley sits right next to us, trying to brainwash us in our sleep. I don't get this scene. She would be a perfect FBI agent or some shit. She's bothering him to tell him that she's ready to act on her plans of killing their parents. And while Andrew realizes how risky it is to do that, he also realizes through the conversations he had with his mom that she's not exactly on their side of things. And at any given point, she could just call the police. I'm on the side of people that agrees that they should be separated from each other, but there's also that degenerative side of me that wants to see that ending where the two eventually start getting strange as Ashley gets closer to try and emphasize her point that she needs them gone, obliterated. The incestuous tones of the game are getting stronger as we go on, to the point where it's getting like, aren't these motherfuckers siblings? But as they get closer and closer and more physical with each other, Mom thankfully walks in and spares our eyes just for a little longer, because if she kept going, Mrs. Graves wanted to try and talk to Andrew without the influence of Ashley around. But seeing as Ashley is still in the room, we get no explanation and no type of dialogue in the events that happened between them, or at least not yet. It seems as if she wanted to address Ashley, but going on to the other side of the couch that Andrew's on, she sees Ashley is already there. Now with the limited visuals, it doesn't seem like much is going on, but after there's the reveal of what actually is happening, this is literally the what the fuck. I have a personal story, and I know this is probably hard to believe. Oh, meepmop gets any play. Yeah, the same guy who made anime for Degenerates like 2 years ago gets any play. But there was this one time when I was younger, I was actually at a girl's house, and she was in this exact position. I don't know how I didn't get caught, because her mom was literally in the next room, but Jesus Christ, this shit hit home. Not in Alabama, though. However, after that little silly, funny anime moment, shit kind of gets real. Yeah, honestly, this is like one of the worst things you could see before you die. All the pieces fall into place, and Ashley sends Andrew to get their father and something to tie them up with. And honestly, this is the last one we want to see with any type of fucking gun. Remembering the rope inside their parents' closet, I headed to their parents' room.
There's some rope in the closet along with other equipment. But as you untangle the rope from everything else... Nice one, Butterfingers. Son, what on earth are you doing? He says. There is absolutely no good explanation as to why you're rummaging through their sex toys. And the truth, I want to tie Mom up, doesn't sound any better.
Stop hitting the tweak allegations. Bro's not beating.
I'm not gonna take it. I'm not gonna take it. I'm not gonna fucking
Despite saying the most horrid shit to his dad, he blindly goes down to the basement after Andrew tells him his wife is down there. It seems as if he's used to that shit. They do be down there a lot, apparently. Mr. Graves goes down to the basement, and as Andrew follows him, he pulls out the cleaver that he somehow slept with. Like, seriously, he slept with jeans too, bro. We find his dad on the steps looking at Ashley holding a gun at his wife, and he also proceeds to say the most out-of-pocket shit ever. Kill the entire family. Just one little bullet to each of their heads. I feel like that would save us a lot of trouble. I wouldn't have to be playing that. Andrew proceeds to then tie both of his parents up, but then he comes to the realization that
you can't help but notice some old rope burns on his wrists. This family is fucking filled with freaks.
When I get to my mom, though, I try to push the boundaries of what I can and can't do like I've been doing all this time. Interacting with Mrs. Graves too much as Andrew causes Ashley to pull out her true goon stare and just look at Andrew with the most menacing look.
You get the sense that whatever trust she had in you is quickly eroding.
Before they do the ritual, the original meaning on why they even came here comes back up. They both ask Mrs. Graves what the pin is to her credit card. Punch-made devs of video game characters. The two then go back upstairs, and Andrew gets ready to go to the store and take out some money from the bank. However, before he does, Andrew tries to reinforce that he loves his sister at the end of the day and that he chose her. Especially throughout most of the entire game has had doubts about his loyalty, and it's just a moment where he can be like, yeah, I fuck with you heavy. After a lot of weird shit and attempted murder, it's time to sacrifice their parents. The first thing we have to do is decide which parent to cut to draw the sacrificial circle, and this didn't seem to affect the story in my playthrough, but I chose Mrs. Graves. I'm sorry I had to hurt you. I hope you could forgive me.
Fuck you, Nick.
After a chapter and a half, we finally have an interaction between Ashley and her mom. It's an argument that reveals both characters' worst attributes. But the worst part is the fact that she had a feeling that Andrew and Ashley had something to do with the murder of Nina, but didn't say anything in the effort to try and protect her kids. Or at least that's what she says. Mrs. Graves genuinely believes that she did no wrong by her daughter, but it really depends on how you view it as a person. Ashley, to a certain degree, is a mess of a person, but it was indirectly caused by the codependence on Andrew given to her by their parents' absence. Andrew essentially raised her, and all those flashbacks you're probably sick of now, you could see it. Eventually, after all of that, Ashley cuts her mother, and we draw an oval. Bitch, I asked for a sir. Andrew comes down the steps like it's a sitcom and asks his mom. Ashley eventually takes her mom upstairs to go see if they could figure it out on the phone.
You're in luck as the customer service line has just opened up for the day, yet somehow there's already a 1,000,000-hour wait, and guess what? You wait. Also, while we waiting for these bitches to do something, subscribe to the channel, or don't. This motherfucker can stay having 2 views. Nigga, don't
bro,
pay
stop.
me for this
That's
shit.
not in the script. My bad, guys. The narrator is tripping. Bro is done. He might come back. I'm not even sure. After all the pieces are finally set in place, all that's left are the runes for the ritual on the floor. But also seeing now that money is a factor, one of the siblings can just go get the money while the other one can just set up for the ritual. Although Ashley has her doubts on whether or not Andrew can just watch them and not be influenced to turn against her, as he's done before in her eyes. Now, with that being established, the game gives us the choice to trust him, fuck that, or save game. I'm not gonna lie, this button helped me so fucking much. It's a godsend and helped me get these endings like 3 months faster. Yeah, 3 months faster. Now the next couple of choices that the game can give you actually make or break the ending that you're trying to get. There are different points in the game where you can choose the option, but not all of them matter and some do matter. For example, earlier in the episode you had the choice to either shoot or shoot the guy in the park, and that was one of the main choices that determines which ending that you get. If you choose to play Ashley and not trust Andrew, not much is said between the characters in the scene, but in this one Andrew comes back faster than Ashley, which might be helpful for the like 2 speedrunners who genuinely want to speedrun this fucking game. And playing as Andrew on my first playthrough, Mrs. Graves tries to figure out why all of this is happening in the first place, and is it even about money at this point? She sees a potential weak point in Andrew, while Andrew tries to convince his mom that it's all a scare tactic and she won't die, although most of us realize these motherfuckers are probably dead. Also, his dad has no real input, essentially always being like that. There's more content to pick off of if you pick Andrew, and we learn a couple of different things. For example, we learn Mrs. Graves' age. We do know that Andrew and Ashley are canonically 20 and 22 thanks to some artwork on the Steam page for the game. It basically makes Mrs. Graves around 37 to 38 years old, which basically puts her as like that right amount of MILF age.
You were such an easy child. I thought we'd be fine just having another. I wasn't counting on Ashley to be so. I'm sorry I made you raise her. I thought you were getting along, so I didn't want to see what was happening. It's all my fault. I apologize.
Well, it is what it is.
It doesn't have to be, Andrew. I still think we can sort this out. And if it's money you need, I can help you get a job.
Your parents are offering you an olive branch. Yeah, that's right and back, bitches.
As fucked up as she is, on my first playthrough, I thought she might have been genuine, and it seemed like a more sincere apology. She tries to reach out and offers a way out of this, and the offer seems so attainable and genuine, so putting my judgment behind. Choosing this option shows that there's a small trace of Andrew who wants to escape Ashley, and while either decision matches up with Andrew, it depends on how you feel about Ashley. Choosing to accept the offer shows Andrew at his most vulnerable, and deep down he's still that kid that despises his sister for it all. If you decline, bro, you just want to see these motherfuckers happy as a couple. Declining it just keeps Andrew as someone who kept his promise of choosing Ashley over the world. I do kind of like declining it a little because you get to see the scene of Mrs. Graves just coming to the conclusion that he probably has sex with Ashley.
Oh, that's disgusting, Andrew. She's your sister, for God's sake. I knew something was off. How did I fuck up so badly? I'm the worst mother ever.
This fucking game, dude. This fucking game. Back to the root of accepting her offer, Mrs. Graves tries to convince Andrew there's still a chance. But Andrew, fully believing that there's something deep down stopping him from taking it, he goes through with the ritual even when he had the option to escape, and tries to convince himself he could just work things out with Ashley. However, even with all the words that she says, the two still go through with the ritual.
Their screaming is short-lived as the demon steals their souls.
The people who caused all their suffering are now dead, and as Ashley feels unfazed about it, Andrew goes into a panic. Seeing the demon and his parents' souls get taken away did something to his mind. After a brief moment of freaking out, the two siblings get their shit together and realize they have to start chopping their parents up. Take the opportunity to inspect both of your parents. You can notice that they're somehow still alive, but just more into a vegetative state. Can I say that? The revelation that getting your soul taken doesn't send you back to the lobby, but rather makes you a husk, changes the events of episode 1, since the siblings genuinely thought the warden and the cultist died. Andrew takes another second to process, not before Ashley plunges a knife into her mom's chest, killing her instantly. The two go through the process of getting rid of any trace of their parents, and after a long while of rubbing against shit to find different items, the narrator outright says,
"You and your brother dismember your parents and disembowel them and decapitate them. What the actual fuck, Nemlis?"
I distinctly remember being mortified about the shit, and while I was able to put up with all the other disturbing imagery in that game, the fact that the game goes dark before showing the two mutilating their parents stuck with me more than anything. Whether they deserved it or not, the shit gets worse. Are you enjoying the show? Refill your popcorn. They're gonna have sex in 20 minutes. As the two slice up their parents' body parts together, Ashley noticed the detachment Andrew has had, and at this point, Andrew ain't there, bro. Bro's gone. Ashley tries to reinforce her love for her brother, but she doesn't realize she's talking to a desensitized brick wall who has no other options but to stay with her. To me, I think this is the true Andrew, and it's not the Andrew who's extremely devout to his sister, and I think I like this route a little bit better. I don't see these motherfuckers happy.
I've got nothing to say to you, Ashley.
Andrew continues butchering your parents, and for the first time in forever, you have no idea what he's thinking.
Disposing of the body seems like a big task, but ends up being extremely fucked up. Ashley first gets the idea to use some of their parents' remains to make soup, which at that fucking point, there is no saving her. There is no fixing her. I better not see anybody in my comment section talking about I can fix her. There is no fixing. They ultimately decide to put some of the body parts into the fireplace. The siblings sit down to eat the stew they made, and while Andrew is clearly distraught at the fact that he has to eat this shit, they also still go through with it. There is no going back. He also mentions the point that if they were really hungry, they could have just went in there and got a fucking snack. But even with that, Ashley says the most demonic shit ever by defending cannibalism in the most bizarre way possible. The way she phrases it is like if Kanye West was really into being a fucking cannibal, and essentially says to be above and superior, eat somebody's fucking pancreas. After all is said and done, they both go to sleep to see what's in their future, and while in the process of going to sleep, they argue over whether or not Andrew should be involved, which ends with Andrew sleeping anywhere else. Probably the bed his parents fucked their neighbors on. Waking up back in the demon's realm, we get dropped into another flower puzzle, but we can immediately tell something's off. Shit immediately gets real when there's something trying to break down a barricade that we don't know who made. And the fact that it could be literally anything because we're in such a different dimension makes it a little bit more scarier for Ashley, at least. I don't think this shit's scary. Finding 2 keys on the first puzzle and continuing on to the main one. Holy shit, this is huge! Seems to be 2 doors for this one, and we can see the key off to the right, which leads us to the end of the puzzle. But if you're able to get the black key from the first puzzle, we can use the axe to chop down some trees in our way and head to an isolated part of the dream, with the entity seemingly watching us. To the right of him, however, are 2 souls who seem to really like each other. The community so far seems to think these 2 souls are Mrs. and Mr. Graves, with the tar soul belonging to Mrs. and with the pure soul belonging to Mr. Graves. The entity tells us that the transformation of the tar soul isn't complete, and also tells Ashley that her soul is much darker, which honestly ain't a surprise to nobody at all. The entity is essentially just a spectator in our dream and nothing more. And after he tells all that shit, we go back, and going through the white door, Ashley eventually gets led down a long checkered path, and while whatever it is chasing her gets closer and closer, but the culprit ends up being Andrew. Considering how Andrew has been through this entire run of the game, it makes sense that he doesn't fuck with Ashley anymore. We have to run from Andrew, and he eventually catches up, and with nowhere to go, she gets caught and tries to apologize, not realizing there's no going back. The manifestation of what she believes Andrew is like is gonna kill her. In some playthroughs, you can have the choice to either pull out the gun or just let it happen. But knowing me, I couldn't help myself. Choosing this option causes Ashley to absolutely lose it, and by her facial expressions, she doesn't know whether or not to be happy or sad or mad about the situation. However, the second option is pretty interesting, especially if you're able to get a specific line of dialogue that I fucking wasn't able to get. God damn it! And one of the different dialogues for letting Andrew kill you, there's one that kind of insinuates that in the future, Andrew would kill Ashley and himself. Ashley obviously wakes up very distraught over what she just seen, even if it is just a dream. Or premonition? I don't even know anymore, bro. I'm lost. Ashley then starts to think hard on the moments where she and Andrew were at their worst, and the underlying decay comes out of Ashley, recognizing that her grip isn't so strong. See Ashley at her least dominant after the dream, and the 2 get out of their parents' house and drive to a bridge to dump their parents' remains. Though after doing it, Andrew seems extremely apathetic to what they should do next. It's one of the few times where Ashley doesn't fight back, and it's most likely brought on by the dream she had of Andrew almost, or depending on which one you choose, actually killing her. The relationship is at its most toxic, and Andrew fully lets his anger out to the point where he puts his hands on Ashley. The same cycle of falling in and out of love for Ashley continues yet again, and nothing really changes. The scene ends when they get in the car, not knowing where to go and no specific destination. Holy shit, covering this fucking game took like 10 years out of my lifespan, but I guess that's it, guys. Don't look down at the time bar or anything. Like don't look down at that. Wait, we don't have like 30 minutes left of the video. When I first played the game, I went in as blind as possible, looking at the game as another controversial phenomenon that had cannibalism and other weird shit in it. And while I wasn't that far off, getting to the game, however, it's less clear cut with just one ending. Yes, the Earthbound inspired Undertale fucking RPG Maker game has like multiple endings and it's like 20 hours long. Now, I might not cover every piece of artwork and every piece of dialogue, but I want to go over some of the endings and interesting things that I might have missed on my first playthrough, which was the decay ending. There's 2 different types of endings for the Coffin of Andy and Leyley: decay and burial. On my first playthrough that you just seen me cover, I went through the decay route, which is probably the bad ending to the game. There is no clear set bad ending, and it's really about how you interpret their relationship and how you'd like it to be with each ending. Oh, you want them to absolutely fucking despise each other and probably kill each other? Go with the route that I did. Oh, you want them to actually fuck like I've been saying they would for the past hour and a half? Go do burial. Oh shit, we gotta fucking talk about that, don't we? If you choose Andrew to watch their parents while Ashley goes and gets the money and decline Mrs. Graves' offer to get out of the situation, we instead get teleported to a dark room? Space? Oh fucking no, man. After a short puzzle in the dark space, we get teleported to something that we've never seen before. An older looking house with plushies reminiscent of all the characters that we've seen in the Graves family. This is kind of a big reach in my own opinion. I feel like in the next couple of episodes we're going to see something very similar to this house. Knowing how the game has been designed so far, everything mostly seems to be non-coincidental and comes back later. To do this puzzle though, you have to put the stuffed animals in the right spots, with each stuffed animal representing the Graves family, with Ashley being separated and having a stool instead of a seat and unable to even stay in one. Someone pointed this out, but in the dinner scene earlier, Ashley specifically sits on a ladder and not a chair, unlike everyone else in both cases, which pretty much is symbolism for how she didn't fit into their family. Throughout the entire game, it's been a recurring attribute of Ashley to not fit into anywhere, and once again, it's just piling on something negative for Ashley. Putting Andrew's bunny next to Ashley's in the corner seems to fix it, and also leads us to the next part. The next section is oddly beautiful, and there seems to be more plushies added to the mix, and the new plushies obviously correlate with the 5 characters in this. Putting Andrew's plushie there, however, actually opens up a couple more things that we can do in this area. Taking the purple and yellow plushies and putting them in the respective spots, with Julia's going into the trash can, and this is too fucking soon. And finally, the plushies representing her parents get thrown into the pot. However, after all that's done, we put Andrew in a cage from a path that opens right after getting rid of the others, keeping in line with the idea that she wants to trap Andrew. And finally, the last and most major puzzle finally gets us to 2 doors. 2 options that we can take. To unlock either of the doors, you have to match up the objects with the murals on the walls. The right door isn't exactly what I'll be focusing on, and it's an option if you want to take it, and it essentially separates the burial ending into 2 different states. But if you choose the left door, you freaky as hell, bro. You a freak, bro. Going to the left shows different murals of different points in Ashley's life, including Mrs. Graves holding Ashley and struggling as a parent, which is most likely a reference of how she viewed herself as a mother who did good by her daughter. The other murals include Ashley and Andrew, Ashley and Julia, finally Nina, Julia, and Ashley, with Nina and Julia having fun and Ashley off to the side hating. However, at the end of the little museum, the green bunny is locked in the cage, and after retrieving him, you can place him at the different podiums, and each mural gets fucked up, and Ashley replaces everyone with Andrew and herself. I have no clue why she did this, like, bro is not on the team. However, after all is said and done, the entity shows up and finally reveals the premonition that half you fuckers have been waiting an hour to see. Is this what you wanted to see? Is this why you watch the funny little incest video? They have fucking, bro, they have fucking scratch and bite marks to prove it. While not as bad of an option as I thought, and it technically hasn't happened yet, it still shocked the hell out of me. Seeing the game get in controversy over this made me think the game would essentially be this until the credits rolled. And while that's not too far off, it's more just edging if anything. The game used incest as a part of its puzzle, and I guess depending on who you talk to, it pays off. This freaky ass premonition even ends with the 2 going back at it. They fuck again, bro. They wake up and the atmosphere is immediately off, as both react in their own ways. Ashley being more neutral about it and even feeling that it would happen eventually, and Andrew has a normal fucking reaction to it. Chapter ends as every single ending does, with the 2 siblings throwing their parents' remains off the bridge, but this time it seems more wholesome. I never thought I would use that word, but I guess I have. 2 siblings, despite all their bickering and going back and forth, seem to be in a really good space now, more than they ever have been. Chapter even ends on a cliffhanger showing that Andrew has some type of eye, looking very similar to the eyes that we've been seeing all game. Well, maybe not the ending that the people who hate this game like, it's definitely a pretty good ending. Now, usually I keep my closing statements for videos pretty short and apt, but I feel like this one has to be addressed a little bit more. After completing this entire game, I'm genuinely conflicted on whether or not I like the game, and the game has a very, very good message how you shouldn't be so codependent on anyone, amongst other things like not fucking eating people and like not killing your friends. But the way it goes about it is the most batshit, deranged shit I've ever like played in a while in the way. However, when the game got released out of early access and episode 2 came out and the game started picking up more traction, the best qualities of this game got overshadowed by the weird taboo shit that's also in it. And that general consensus of people who probably never even played the game is probably what led to the creator of it getting doxxed and harassed. There's a couple different reasons on why the creator might have been harassed besides the fact that the game is so taboo, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm definitely not going to be the one that puts an end to doxing everywhere, but I feel like it didn't really need to happen. And while the game is kind of fucked up in a sense, I still don't think anybody should be put in that position where they fear for their lives. All because you made a game with 2 incestuous cannibals that don't even fucking exist. And I'm definitely not going to be the person who stops someone from doxing Aiden Ross for like the 20th time in a week, all because he had black people on his stream. Literally, that's something that happened, by the way. That's going back to the game. If you look past the bullshit, the comedy, any of that, the edginess, dear God, the fucking person who wrote this is edgy. The game is a warning for anyone suffering with any type of toxic and familial issues. And it's a warning that the obsession over anyone can turn very fucked up fast. And also, just raise your fucking kids, man. Just Jesus Christ. I'll keep up with the game as much as I possibly can and continue to cover it. Trust me, guys, it'll be my own little pet stuff that I just fucking wave over your head like a bunch of keys. Also, a pretty big announcement. New PNGs for the channel. They're not really fucking new. I kind of had them done by the wonderful, lovely Nerva Bleach on Instagram. These PNGs have essentially been done ever since I did 4D, 1D. Let me know in the comments if you made it this far in the video and see if I should take it back and just go back to a regular Denji or some shit. The moral of the story is, have fun and raise your kids, or your kids will have fun with themselves. Wait, I didn't mean...